Hello, Mr. Vessel here, and we are going to be looking at the 2015 number 1 from the AP Stats exam. This problem has to do with two distributions, comparing those distributions, and then using that display to make some sort of decision. So we will talk about some strategies, what would take full credit for this, and hopefully you find this helpful. So dive in here. The prompt starts with two large corporations, A and B, hire many new college graduates as accountants at entry-level positions. In 2009, the starting salary for an entry-level accountant position was $36,000 a year at both corporations. At each corporation, data were collected from 30 employees who were hired in 2009 as entry-level accountants and were still employed at the corporation 5 years later. The yearly salaries of the 60 employees in 2014 are summarized in the box plots below. And you notice from the box plots just right away, you see these two outliers over here, and you got the yearly salary in thousands. The first part says, write a few sentences comparing the distributions. And when you see this comparing distributions, you should always think of the same things. We want to see shape, outlier, center, and spread. So you can do this, and always in context as well, but we'll basically make a sentence comparing and describing each of these four things. We're going to talk about the shape, outlier, center, and spread. Doesn't really matter what order, and if it helps you to stay organized and make sure that you don't miss anything, sometimes students use this acronym. I like SHOCKS. Sometimes I see SOCKS quite a bit too, but shape, let's start with that one. And box plots are really difficult to infer shape because we just don't know much about what goes on, like where data is located with a box plot. All we have is the 5-number summary, and technically I guess we have an extra data point here. So with shape, it's really difficult to make sure. So we're going to use soft language when we're describing these things, and the descriptions is one thing I look for shape for these things. Is kind of like how long is the gap from the median to the minimum, and similarly, what about from the maximum to the median? And if there's a little bit of a longer line, there's a possible skew in the direction of the longer line. Another indicator for shape in this one, we have outliers that are to the upper end. Definitely possible we could have a right skew for this one. So we're going to use corporation A, and again, I'm going to use soft language here. I don't want to say it is skewed right. I just don't know for sure. But it does appear that there could be a slight skew to the right because of that extra long line and the two outliers to the right. And for corporation B, it's more symmetric for sure. And I think I'm going to lean toward just calling this one fairly symmetric. And again, I don't want to say it is symmetric. I want to say it's fairly symmetric, or looks like it could be symmetric. Soft language is better with box plots. It's just really difficult to do shape. And we're just going to make sure we keep it in context. So this is about salaries. The distribution of yearly salaries, that will get it in context for us. For corporation A, appears to have a slight skew to the right. Due to the outliers on the higher end. And corporation B seems to have a more symmetric shape. So I've actually taken care of outliers and shape for corporation A, and center. With this particular case, median is definitely a good one to go with. We have the median right in front of us, and we even can estimate the value here. It looks like they're the same, just over 50,000. and what I'm just going to write, I'm going to give an estimate. If I can easily get one, I'll do that. If I can't, then I'm going to be vague with it. So I'm going to say the medians for both corporations is around $51,000. And finally the spread, and we could use IQR here, we could use range, we could use both. With spread, I'm gonna use range and IQR to say that they're both a little bit larger for corporation A. The range and IQR for corporation A are larger than corporation B. And we don't have to give specific values. I left them off on purpose in this case. If it's not too much trouble and you want to give those values, you can. You know, with a typical free response question, you want to make sure that with number ones especially, they should take around 10 minutes. If they're starting to take over 15, that might be a problem for future questions. So in this case, you know, if it's the first question, you feel like it's really quick for you to get that value, feel free to grab that. If you don't, then that's okay too. These will score full credit whether you give specific numbers or not typically. So it's kind of up to you in that case. And then with part B, it's asking us to say that we get this job offer for $36,000 as an entry level. And remember, that was what was given from the beginning. They said in 2009 the entry level was at $36,000, and then this data is from 5 years later. So based on what we know about these box plots, and that is in the prompt here too, give one reason why you might choose to accept the job at corporation A. And then part 2 for this is why you might choose to accept the job at corporation B. And if we take a quick glance at these corporations, I think what we'd want to focus on is, well, if I'm picking something from A, the upside for A is definitely the fact that you got these really too high salaries, over $70,000. And there's a data point here as well. So looks like that number, that's the first number that's not an outlier, a little over 60,000. So I know for sure that there are at least the highest 3 salaries are in corporation A. Could be more, don't really know for sure though, so I want to stick to what I know. I know there's at least 3 people, those are the highest out of these 60. So that could be a reason why we will look at A. And maybe the benefit for B isn't so much the high salary part, but the fact that we're going to be guaranteed a raise. Looks like the minimum here is much higher for corporation B than it is for A, maybe 5,000 or so. Remember, this data was 5 years later. It looks like there's some people, maybe at least one, that didn't get a raise at all from corporation A 5 years later, where with corporation B there is that guarantee of a raise, even if it's not quite as much as what you might get for corporation A. So when we write these up, we're going to give one reason for each of these 2 things, and it must be based on these box plots. So for the first one, the thing that I want to focus on is those real high salaries. So with corporation A, there is a chance we get a very large raise. Than with corporation B. And our evidence is based on the fact that at least 3 employees at A make more than everyone at B. And similarly, but opposite, why we might choose something for B, it really has to do with the fact that we are going to be avoiding that case where we don't get any raise at all. So with B, everyone at least got a raise. So that's an advantage over Corporation A, where some people didn't get a raise at all after 5 years. At least one, I should say. And in order to get full credit for these things, you really want to mention like why might they choose it at A. So it's, when I wrote this thing up, I want to say what the advantage is for A and why that's missing for part B. And same with part 2 there. What's in B that's not in A. So I want to make sure that that's really clear for the readers, and that should help us get full credit for these responses. So that was the 2015 problem number 1, and I hope that that is helpful information, and check out some more videos. Thank you very much.